Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. Pete Yapel, the voluntary option. One of these days, I'll get the timing right on that. It's just the lag of my computer and then coming onto screen. Welcome to the voluntary option. I am your host, Peter Yapel. It's Wednesday evening here in beautiful Arizona. The sun is shining. It was probably about 80 degrees most of the day. There's been a real cool breeze blowing. And my wife got some color because she finally had a day off where she could actually lay out in the yard. So we're being visited by an activist friend of ours, Deborah Coleman. Deb, thank you for joining us here at Mother Nature's Den. We encourage you all to come visit us. Look us up on Hip Camp, Boondockers, and Soon Tenters. But because we love sharing our experience. Listen, if you can understand and start to remember that freedom is not something that someone, an entity, or any person can hand you. Freedom is personal. Freedom is yours to obtain. So obtain yours. And with freedom, of course, comes liberty. And we couldn't be more blessed today than to have a special guest, Miss Stacey Prussman, who is running for mayor of New York City. And if there is one other person other than Mario Cuomo, or Andrew, well, Mario, God bless you, brother. I hope you can see some kind of good in your son. But Mr. Cuomo is my most hated entity. And I don't like to use that word because I don't like to hate anybody, but this man has brought that upon himself and every citizen of that state. And me too. I am an investor in U-Haul and got the heck out of there before he screwed my life up any further. But the only other person, like I said, that even ranks up there with him, in my opinion, other than Chuck Schumer and stuff and AOC and whatever, we're not going to get involved with them, but is the mayor of New York, Mr. de Blasio. And de Blasio, in my opinion, has shamed our city. He has taken it back down the toilet. He has, let's just review how Democrats in general have come in and, monopolized the state without any trouble. I mean, honestly, it's the states like the rest of the United States has been handed to them. And they're running buckshot and rough wild. And Cuomo, I guess, signed a $212 billion bill today for the budget for the state. Now, he's going to tax some of the richer people more. And, you'll see all the headlines that will kind of try to ease some of the crap he's been going through. Self-inflicted, let's face it. The man's, he's out there doing wrong and, he got busted. That's just the way it works. And but now he's just trying to calm it and say, oh, well, we'll get the rich a little bit. But there's so much. We'll get into that. We'll get into the budget maybe a little bit later. But before we get going, before I go in with my guest today, I want to bring up a point about freedom. And it's something that we do on our other show, Can't We Talk 420, my wife's show, which I co-host on. And that is point out a lot of the injustices, not just when it comes to the plant being a prisoner, but people like Lance Gore being a prisoner. Now, we get behind Lance is a victim. He's the victim in the drug war, sitting in prison for 10 years for growing 2 marijuana plants. Ooh, what a bad guy. In a legal state of Washington. We have to do something now when it comes to our judicial system. We have got the Empress of Lock 'em Up as our vice president. This woman would lock away her mother if the pocket change was right. It's just the way it is with her. She has sent more of her own people to jail than anyone, for life in a lot of cases because of the 3 strikes law. And she's just a horrible human being. And again, she comes from that other wonderful state, California, in which we're trying to recall Newsom. All of these things are important, people. And whether you are local to these areas or not, sit back and understand and remember that it still affects you. Why? Because other policymakers follow in turn. When bad policy comes up and there's no pushback from people, which we just saw a whole year of people just being subservient, obedient, good little slaves. And we've got to change that. We've got to change that. And the person that we're going to bring on is going to bring that change to New York, I truly believe. And without further ado, I'd like to take a moment to introduce my special guest this evening, Miss Stacey Prussman. Stacey, how are you this evening?
Hi, How. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Peter. We need change in New York immediately, and I'm the person to do it. So let's do it.
Absolutely. I want to thank my friend Daniel Donnelly for getting me in touch with David Fite personally. Although I'm friends with David, I didn't have a personal way to connect to him. I want to thank Daniel for making this interview possible, because we, if nothing else, even though I don't still live in the state, my heart's there. I lived there 40 some years. I grew up there. A lot of my childhood memories are there, raising my children. All of that was there. And why did we do it? We did it why? For the good education and, all of these things. But you're being put into quite a precarious position and taking over the job that is before you.
Yes, it's a big job.
Why don't you let people know where your heart, where does your heart lie in that race? What are your biggest running points? Where do you think the most change needs to take place?
Well, as I was, thinking about my campaign, and core values are very important to me. And obviously liberty and freedom and civil rights, civil freedom, civil liberties, it's all one. It's a base of our democracy. It's a base on who we are as people, as our country. And I believe that is a core value. And as we saw with COVID and with what had happened, everything came out in the open. Businesses were shut, things were shuttered. Our city is in shambles right now, but I'm optimistic. I believe that we are moving forward. We are now going to start from basically the beginning again in certain ways and grow from there. And I think that now we can grow correctly in so many different ways. And my campaign really is going to be based around the common denominators that we share and the freedoms that we all want, and helping New Yorkers thrive. I don't want to just bring jobs into the city. I want people to have careers. I don't want night judges to, throw homes at people. I want people to be landowners. I want people to understand what freedom really does mean, and that's important to me. And that's where I'm coming from. Because I believe that so many people have been telling the citizens of New York certain things, and they just keep throwing money at problems that without really addressing the real issues. Like mental health is a problem.
Excellent.
I come from.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. Yeah. Amass that with the depression, with solitude, with everybody being on guard and afraid of everybody, in the mass of humanity in which y'all exist in the city. And and again, that mental illness is only going to keep tearing us down. No question.
And it was like that before COVID.
Right. Oh, I know.
It wasn't like it just happened.
You compound that, and then put that fear. And that only
and
makes
I'm not a politician. I don't even speak political language. Like I sometimes use the wrong language, and it sounds like I'm on one side when I'm really on the other. I'm a stand-up comic. I've been telling, perverse jokes for many years, and a motivational speaker. I've been talking on eating disorders, body image, health and wellness. So I'm coming from that place as well. So my heart is in the direction of making a change by creating a environment of health, wellness, and freedom to thrive. It's not coming from a place of a political agenda. I don't have a political agenda, so to speak. I have solutions to problems, but I don't have a solution. I don't have a political solution. I have a logical, sensible solution to things. And I don't believe money is the answer to every problem either. People throw money.
I think that
everyone keeps asking me, "You're going to throw money to this?"
Right. I think that's
organization. Yeah, I mean, libertarian. Yeah, obviously it's not. It's libertarianism in me, but a lot of times the money just mismanaged and lost, and then what? And then you have no money, and the problem's still even worse because we have now lost a budget that could have been really gone to something that was really.
I mentioned it on my show last week. How?
Yeah.
I mentioned that on my show last week, how funds get spent before they're even really ever used. And or just, again, moved or taken from here to there. And the false perception that the actual citizen or voter gets for what's going to be accomplished is never even comes to the starting line, let alone gets its legs in the race. And, hey, I want to ask you, are you a New Yorker? Have you been there your whole life, or how long have you been there?
I'm a born and raised New Yorker, born and bred in Brooklyn, South Brooklyn, New York. I've lived in almost every borough. I've never really left New York. I went upstate to college in Albany. So I've been basically, other than vacationing and traveling on the road as a comedian and as a speaker, I've never left New York ever in my entire life. So I'm a true blue. I know how it works. I know what's wrong with the city. I know the feel when the city isn't working correctly. I survived 9/11 in Manhattan. I remember that clearly and succinctly, and it still breaks my heart every time. And I am a New Yorker, and I know what New York needs from just being here and experiencing it on every which level.
Yeah,
that's both economically
and you
and
have your legs in the game. Yeah, you have your legs in the game. I get that, and that's very important. I think will be very important to a lot of people. That that someone isn't just an implant that's been there for just a couple years, or did the Hillary thing and moved to a county just to be able to run and win a chair at one point.
No, I've been a shock jock radio host. I've been that kind of thing. I've been doing radio, and I did Libertarian radio for many years. A few years back, I'm not from the establishment, so I've been going to these debates with the establishment, these forums with the Democrats mostly, and they're the establishment. They've been there. They're just talking each other. They're trying to cut each other down. So it's a new life for me. I'm not an established politician. I don't even consider myself a politician. I like to call myself a problem solver. Someone that's going to solve problems that are needed. I want to create an environment where my fellow citizens are thriving. I work for you. It's not about my career. It's about it's about my New Yorkers and how well they are. That's my main goal.
I think that people are tired of politicians already. I think people are tired of politicians anyway. They want people to correct the problems. All politicians do are point out the problems and say, hey, if you elect me, I'm going to do it. And they have really no intent to do it. They know that that's what gets the vote. It's truly the only job in the world where you can go and do whatever the hell you want to do rather than what your expected position is, and have no, other than the weatherman. He can be wrong every time he opens his mouth, and we don't hold him accountable. But politicians in general, man, they do what they want to do once they get in there. I mean, case in point is the president of the United States that's there now. He's gone and done everything he said he wasn't going to do. Now, I want to ask you a question, another question that you brought up when you were doing your first part of your introduction, where you said, I'm not just trying to make jobs and trying to make, create careers and things like that. Now, my question is, don't we as human beings, can't we come to the realization that if we finally just stopped all this silly, you're going to die from a flu, and just went back to work and let people earn a living and cook in their restaurants and open their bars and open their retail stores and let people in to shop, then we wouldn't have to keep having bailouts. Because what people forget is these bailouts, we're paying for them to get back in business so that we can pay for them to be in business. It's always the money on the taxpayer. And people have to understand that it's time that we don't look at things that way. Let free enterprise prosper and run. That's just what I believe. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I believe that, yeah, I believe that the government shut us down, and I don't really know if they even have a plan to really fix it. You know, throwing $1,400, $2,000 on people, is that fixing a lifelong business, a restaurant you've worked your life for, put hundreds of thousands of dollars into time? I don't, and now you can't reopen 100% or even 50% or stay open as late as you want to maybe make up for the money. I don't know how that's repairable. It's like you had a profitable business that was doing amazing, and there's COVID protections. Like, everyone has different views. If you're, there's ways to protect yourself, having the air systems correct, and the social distancing and all that stuff. There's ways to protect people from the virus, and it's been known. There's outdoor dining now, and there's no reason why we need to shut down at 11 o'clock. We could stay open all night. There's no reason why restaurants need to shut down at a certain time. It's logic. There's like logical solutions to these problems, and that would bring business and profit back to places that have been severely hurt, but for no reason of their own. That's the thing. It's if you have a bad business and you messed up your business and you misspent your money and blah blah blah. All right, that's on you. But the government did that to you,
right?
And you have to. And now what? Now what? Now we're holding you back even more, and now people are being vaccinated, and we're hoping to come out of this very soon. There's why are we closing down early? There's no reason for that. That to me is controlled. There's no logic. The virus still keeps going after 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. The virus is still existing. So it needs to make science. Show me science. I want to know science. It has to have scientific evidence, or it doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense to me. I come from a science background, believe it or not. So yes, it's a deadly virus. It's hurt a lot of people, but now people are getting vaccinated. Hopefully the vaccines are working. I haven't had my vaccine yet. I don't know when I'm going to have one, but if people are being vaccinated, that's their choice. And it should have an effect on us opening. And I know comedy clubs just opened up this weekend, and people are very excited to be out. And there's ways to avoid the virus. Some people wearing masks. There are ways to avoid it. And so we should be open and end the lockdowns. Period. That's my feeling on it.
I think it's silly. I think it's absolutely silly that people can think that because you won't go out after a certain time of the day, that you're going to be more susceptible to that. I mean, that when it got to that ridiculous point in time, I really shook my head. And I'm going, people are believing this.
Well, that's government control. That's control. That's utter. They want control. Yeah. They want to be able to control people, so if people aren't out at 11 o'clock, they can control us. If my gym, which was 24 hours, closes at 11. They have control over people walking through the street, so people aren't at the gym. For instance, all right, bars, people are afraid they're going to get rowdy. What are they going to? People are at the gym. What are they doing wrong there? After 11 o'clock, it's a gym. It's open. What's wrong with it? Right. And the thing is, you can't even get into the gym now because there's percentages of people that could be there, so you have to wait online to get into the gym. So my schedule is so limited right now with the campaign and having meetings. I have to get into the gym to get my exercise. I barely can get in unless I have a personal training session, which costs me a fortune. Right. I can't get in. So if it was open all night, like it was supposed to be open, I'd be able to get into the gym to work out. But for some reason, they decided to close it at 11 o'clock, thus making it unable for me to get a workout in. And that's the healthiest place to be, is the gym. In terms of being a healthy person and not being obese, which is a cause of having a bad effect with the virus. So it's like, make up your mind, government. Make it make sense. And the lockdowns, let people stay open as late as they want. And that's the end of it. People are taking the precautions. People are making the choice.
When COVID was in full stride.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When COVID was in full stride, there were people really shaming other people. I know I see it here, and we really weren't even. We had mandates like everybody else, I guess, but nobody really gave a crap here. I mean, honestly, we lived life. We honestly lived our life. We just said, we're not stopping living our lives. If we, now, did I respect the Wallapai Nation down the road? Absolutely. We almost killed the nation with smallpox. We almost wiped out our whole Native American population with smallpox once before. Yeah, I understand their mistrust. So yeah, when I go into that place, then I would put on a mask. And again, I won't do it if it's a mandate from the government. Now, if the store owner says, no, that's just my policy, then I can choose at that point in time whether I want to go up there or not.
I look at it this way.
To me, that's it. But I was in Lowe's or Home Depot the other day. And there's this old couple, I call them old couple. I'm an old guy, and here I am calling somebody old. But this older couple walks by, and the guy goes, look, see, no mask. And I go, and I just stopped and I said, you're right, because I'm intelligent and educated. I don't need one. Your little piece of cloth, this ain't protecting you from death. I don't care, because that's all a bandana or anything else is, pulling your shirt over your face. That's not going to protect you from getting severely ill by a deadly disease. And I don't care what the deadly disease is. And if we can be so simplified by a square box that talks to us and says, oh my gosh, unless you wear this, you're going to die. We are really a weaker society than I really truly believe. And I want to have faith in us.
Right. I agree. I believe that it's a respect for your neighbors. Like if I have a cold, like I don't want to know that I spread it to you. So if I could take the precaution, I'll wear them. I don't have an ethical issue with it. To me, if it, when I go to the doctor's office before COVID, they wore masks. So it's not to me such a governmental, it's more of me respecting other people. Like I don't want to give you my germs, like that type of thing.
Right. That's
how I feel. I don't feel I feel that there is there is medical science to back it. It's and I think when you go into a place, it's a respect to your neighbors, not to give them, your germs if you are carrying it. If that's the least you could do to protect your neighbors. Do I believe that the government should mandate it? I think that people should make the choice, the right choice, the voluntary option to wear one. Because I believe that.
Well, that's what it's all. That's what our society should be.
If I could do that little to stop the spread of it,
we should never. Yeah.
I would
never be forced
do it
in any aspect of our life. If we agree contractually in any certain way, this is the problem. A lot of things that people don't understand about just their general life is that you're under contract from the moment you're born. When your parents sign, give you a number, or you get stamped on your ass, and there you go out the door. That's how we become a part of our government. Our government now owns a piece of us where we owe them something for just being born. And we not only owe them something for just being born for what they may try to do for us in the future, we're here now to pay back all the past. And that's, listen, you have to understand. People have to understand that. And I don't think that many do. I think that many believe that, still believe in their government. They still believe they have their best interest in mind. But all I say is take a look around. And if you think that this is your best interest in mind, then you're living in a different planet than I want to live on.
Right. I mean, everyone has their opinion about I think there's a lot of issues going on. I mean, people felt like their civil liberties were infringed upon during this pandemic. Some people feel that they were not. It's all different for different people, And I think that when it comes down to it, it's really people making the decision to respect their neighbor and not infringe upon them. Either it be a disease or your fist.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Donnelly put up a question, and he wants to know if you'll allow urban farming to include operations for cannabis.
Sure. Why not? I think that's the best way. Competition, you get the best cannabis, the most sustainable cannabis, rather than the government running it. I believe absolutely, yes. I'm not a big cannabis person myself. I don't smoke cannabis often. But I know a lot of people do, and I think that I think that if you grow it, I think it's it's like growing tomatoes. I think it should be treated like that. or lettuce or whatever you
It's
eat
very
in the
healthy.
farm.
It's a metabolic.
My wife and I are active. My wife and I are activists and have been for years. It's a metabolic. It's metabolic and nutraceutical. I mean, it's a valued plant. I'm smoking while I talk to you, but I don't smoke as much as oil has saved my life. The plant itself, and I think that what we're missing. What the government is missing, and what I would urge you to do, as I've urged everybody that I've ever sat in front of at a desk, and what I will urge you to do is enforce and understand education. That education is so lacking even within the community. I mean, there are people that have had businesses in this and sell every single day, and they have zero knowledge about what they're doing. Now, what a point I will make and what I can make is that there is no such thing, and if anybody can fight me on this, I will beat you in a debate every single day, that there is no such thing as a cannabis expert. You cannot be an expert on cannabis because we haven't been able to study the plant. We know little about it, but you cannot call yourself an expert if there's 114 cannabinoids and we know little about 6 or 8, 10 maybe, but we don't know about all 114. So until we reach that pinnacle, until we free the Schedule 1, until we free this plant and allow people to be able to do with it as they please. And again, like you're saying, people should be able to grow at home. Growing your own medicine. You talk about mental health, keep a plant alive. You're responsible to keep that plant alive. It is great therapy.
Well, botany is an art. It's
Anything.
a science.
It doesn't
It's
have
an
to be
art.
cannabis. It could be potatoes.
Right. Yeah. Botany is an art. Growing
Yes.
plants is an art. You know, farming. It's a job for people. It's so many different things, and I believe that we should have privatize, or obviously privatize the marijuana market. Absolutely. I think you'd get the best qualities of marijuana. Maybe one that I actually would enjoy in that case. But yeah, I mean, I never trusted, marijuana for many reasons, not because I'm afraid of it, just because I didn't know where it came from. But now if I'm growing my own, at least I know how it's being made. And it's just like food. Like I want to know how my food is being prepared, right, where it comes from and all that. I feel it should be the same thing. And I'm very much into the urban, having urban growth. It's a ridiculous crime.
Big pressing issue. Yeah, that's another big pressing issue is our food and how we're poisoned. Between our water sources and the way that our foods are injected with steroids and hormones. I just tell people all the time, and it doesn't matter where you live. You can even live in a city. You can grow a tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket. You can grow peppers in a 5-gallon. Grow yourself something. Eat some of your own food. You'll notice the difference in the taste. You'll have more pride in it a little bit. And again, it's very good for the mind. You have to keep that plant alive, man. You aren't going to let it die. So, you know what I mean? It just becomes like another child to you. When I was growing cannabis, when I lived in New York, my wife would call my plants her sister wives, because I spent so much time with the plants. She would say, "Oh, he's downstairs with the
That's adorable." That's so cute. Yeah, that's funny.
I think if people took the time. Mm-hmm.
I think, and we have like space rooftops. We can create gardens and rooftops, and we have spaces available for that here in New York and Brooklyn. Like my mom has tomatoes. Like not everything is so urbanized, like the outer boroughs. There's like Staten Island and Brooklyn and Queens. There's huge amounts of grass and patches and whatnot. So it's not all like one big urban jungle as people think. New York City specifically is filled with different types of landscapes. We don't have mountains per se, but we do have, the Bronx. We have open land that you could have a little garden. People have little gardens in their front, especially in my neighborhood where I grew up. Yeah, and I think that's a great idea.
That Central Park is the only green. People's misconception that Central Park is like the only green thing.
There's a lot of beautiful areas in New York City.
People's misconception that all of New York is New York City, and we go, no, New York City's that big. New York's that big. Like on the map, New York's that big. New York City's that big. Yeah, there's more people there, but it's not all of New York. It's not. Now,
and not all of New York City is so urban, right?
Right. A lot of people have talked for years about seceding the city from the rest of the state and maybe making it into 3 parts, like California's talking to do in 4 parts. Do you see any value in that in New York? Do you see that to be something that if it was brought up, you'd be opposed to, or something that you would consider?
New York State as a whole, I mean, the beauty of a state is that it's different, has different landscapes. We have a beautiful mountainous landscape. We have a very urban landscape. And I don't, just because we're different doesn't mean we have to be divided. We have our local governments in each, district. I know that from being on the Libertarian State Committee. So I don't think it needs to be divided. I think we can work as one. I mean, if we can't work as one as a state, how are we going to work as one as a country?
Right.
I mean, you could be divided, but we don't have to.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a question I think that everybody's asked from time to time. And I just like to get people's spiel on it. I made mention the other day and when I was we were talking to some friends, and I said, you know what? I think other than San Francisco, New York is the only city in the world that you got to pay admission to get into, because you cannot get into New York City without paying for something, whether it be a toll.
It's expensive. It's an expensive city. It always has been. I think upstate keeps New York City in check. Like, it's like, no, there's a whole other world, and this, it keeps New York City people in check. They're like, no, there's a whole other New York up there that you should, explore. So I think it's the beauty of New York is that it has the different landscapes, that it has the most urban of landscapes and the most rural of landscapes, all within an hour to 2 hours of each other, which is amazing and beautiful. I think we need to respect that.
I know. I say it all the time. Yeah, you can get mountains, rivers, beach. You can have anything you want in New York if you want it. If you want to be there, you can have every flavor of any kind of topography. Yeah,
that's what I love about New York. And California has that, and other states have it as well. So I mean, I never thought about dividing it. I always thought that we need to just figure out a way to be a state. And I was going to school.
Our celebration's going to continue. Our parades and such like that right now. I'm not even talking about when you take over. I'm talking about right now in the New York present. Are there still going to be parades and stuff like this, or are they still being,
I think they're starting to. I think outdoor stuff is starting to open and things like that. I think they're vaccinating a lot of people right now, so I think that they're starting to open. They just opened comedy clubs, which are some of the most insular places. So I think that there'll be parades, things out. They're doing it slowly, outdoor stuff. I don't know. They haven't made decisions on things yet. I guess like the Thanksgiving Day parade and whatnot. So we'll see. I hope they open.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
Right.
I see no reason why they should.
Yeah. They call New York, the melting pot. People are the Big Apple. People don't understand it. That don't live there or don't get it. But when I think of New York City, I think of what America really is, because it's every kind of person. I mean, like every kind of flavor, every kind of everything. Right. And I mean, and that's like in general when you're looking around, and then everybody has their own areas. We got Little Italy, we got, Chinatown. There are, and gosh, who doesn't love the Village? I mean, that's just a place, that's just a great place to be, man. And always has been. But people, don't really get, like, if you really want to take a look, if you had to take somebody from another country and go, well, what's America look like anyway? You could just drop them right there and go, okay, now turn your head around. That's what America looks like. It looks like every flavor of the rainbow. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's important that a leader there, and especially in the city, because let's face it, the city drives the bus, or is the most well-known and most populated, and that's where our people are, that person has to be somebody that can drive that bus, that can keep the kids seated in their seats when they're getting up and standing up, and can keep the bus on the path. And and really, I was really taken. The first time I saw you speak was on Larry's show, because I watched Larry if I don't watch every show he does, I go back and watch it probably later on today live. But that was the first place I saw you, and why I wanted to reach out. And then again, thank you again, Daniel, and thank you again, David, for making this interview possible.
Thank you.
Libertarians, I think, and another thing that I'm glad you're doing is that you're out early. You know what I mean? Like, normally a libertarian race, you learn who the candidate is 2 months before voting, and it doesn't give you a chance to know who they are, see anything they've done, have an opportunity to listen to them. So giving yourself some time like this, I believe you're doing yourself a great justice, by the way. And
right. Well, I started in April, I think we started on Larry's show. I declared in April, I believe, maybe early, right? Like literally like a month after the lockdowns happened. And it went from there. We built a team. We have a great team of people, almost 30 to 40 people right now on our team. We're looking for more volunteers all the time and donations at Prussman so we can build our team. And we're fighting the establishment, as well. There's people that have just been doing this for many years. The bureaucratic Democrats have been, running the city for many years, and a lot of money and resources have been lost and not allocated correctly. And we need to, change that. We need to get rid of the bureaucracy and really make things run smoothly, functionality, make New York fun again. That's really important. New York is a place that people would come to have fun. Doesn't seem so much fun sometimes. So we need to have fun again. I know that sounds so base, but it's such a true thing. The arts. New York's a place of the artist, and I believe that would be a great thing to do.
They're sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Daniel Donnelly, which I love. Daniel's been very questiony today, and I kind of like that because I love Daniel. By the way, everybody, you'll
great.
hear me say Daniel's name all the time. I have him on speed dial. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. So it says, how would New York City for Stacey Prussman fund housing for the homeless built with 3D printing?
Wow. Well, we need to end zoning. First of all, a lot of zoning laws, so we can build housing for the homeless. Funding, there's probably money that we don't know exists. Like there's property taxes that aren't being paid by like Madison Square Garden, for instance. That's a way to fund housing for homeless or housing insecure. NYCHA, which is the New York City Housing Authority, I would like people that live there to become owners. There's a way to fund, have the private sector come in and help build homes. It doesn't cost a lot of money to build 3D homes. Actually, it would be less expensive and less bureaucratic to have permanent housing built rather than the shelter system. The shelter system is disastrous. Right. So you want to put people and help people get jobs or careers to live in their homes and be able to pay for their homes, not just hand them here, maybe help them the first few months, but then get them started. So they're functional society. And if they have mental illness, try to address those issues, because having people, on the streets is not really, it's, we're 2021 and we still have people living on the streets. It's not humane.
I know.
What kind of society are we?
Especially when we have
the greatest New York, we have people. Pardon?
Especially
and we have
empty buildings as we have.
There's so many empty buildings now with the offices that are now being people working from home. People now companies realize, we can work from home, or we can create a smaller office instead of having this 20,000, 5,000 square foot office. We could have a 1,000 square foot office, and we have one or two people working in there and people working virtually. So we've seen this. I'd love to figure out how to really take areas like that now don't have people working in them and create maybe take the zoning away and create homes for people in those areas, or that type of thing. There's so many options. The world is our oyster if we just allow it to happen. We take away these restrictions that don't really serve, we will be able to really grow as a city and be able to house people help them create jobs, like, get to the addiction is a big issue right now after the pandemic and during the pandemic, addressing that. And mental illness is a pillar, I believe, of what is we have to deal with right now. I in my heart, as a citizen of New York and as someone who's running for mayor, I believe mental illness needs to be addressed. It's severe, and it's the only way to move forward from this. Not just physical, but mental health is an absolute pillar.
Right. I want to agree with you on zoning, and zoning everywhere needs to be changed. First off and foremost, when you own something, why do we still need to pay for permission from somebody else to do something to something we own? That there is, if I own a piece of property and I want to put a turd shack off the back that's connected to my house, I should be able to do it without asking the government for permission, filling out paperwork, paying for that permission, and then, of course, getting an increase in my taxes to have to pay more money. More. Join me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey. Stacey, this is my lovely wife, Helen.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Daniel, Helen's on.
Yeah, I'm just listening to everything that you guys are talking about, and Peter had mentioned how important cannabis education is, and every single thing that you're mentioning on all the things that you want to change, everything reverts back to a cannabinoidal deficiency in our society. And I would love to explain why, because of the position that you are running for, it is so important for me to do this. And that's why I came in to interject. Our society has a learned, our society has a learned behavior of how to take care of themselves that it just doesn't do any good. This behavior, this learned way of life that we've all come so accustomed to. What are you sitting on?
You're sitting halfway on the bench this way. There you go.
Okay. This is what I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
Cannabinoidal deficiency is in every one of us. Okay. The endocannabinoid system is the largest signaling regulatory system for every single cell that we possess. Every single mammal, this holds true for. The same as oxidative stress holds true for every single individual. Oxidative stress will accelerate the aging process, and it will promote sickness. Our learned way of life from when we're little promotes that. It promotes that premature cell death lifestyle. With that comes critical thinking process and problem solving skills get lost because of the way that we eat, the lack of the lack of exercise that we choose for ourselves daily because life just simply gets in the way, the neurotoxins that are in our water, as Peter said earlier, the geoengineering that's going on in the sky. We are at a constant war with what we are breathing, drinking, and eating.
And the absence of
our bodies are always at war with the toxins they're attacking.
Right. So we're constantly being attacked, but through our food, our air, and our water, that our bodies are constantly, we're oxygen free radicals are wreaking havoc on our bodies because of these learned choices that we make throughout our lives on how to live. So we want to change that by introducing cannabinoids that have been deficient since the early 90s, when all of our farms closed down across the United States, when hemp was no longer mandated. Cannabinoids were no longer in our air. We started depleting. We weren't making our own like we should. So here comes all of these sicknesses, including mental illness, on the rise because of this. So to defeat this, we have to have cannabinoids in our diet. The whole food chart needs to change. Cannabis needs to be right in the center because it's that important. It is a metabolic essential. It is a neuroprotectant. And this is what needs to be taught for our society to be able to change their learned way of thinking about how good health and homeostasis is found. because we're going about it completely wrong. And we're just getting sicker and sicker. We're dying younger and younger. People, I hear people say, "Oh, we're dying. Life is getting longer." Where is that happening? Alzheimer's on the rise. Cancer is on the rise. Heart disease on the rise. All of these things that are preventable diseases with the correct cannabinoidal therapy. That is so important. So everything that you're discussing and why I intervened can be handled with cannabis, but having all of the nonsensical regulations surrounding the plant are what needs to change. People need to be able to learn about this plant and handle this plant freely.
Well, and what we need also is our leaders to not be afraid. And what I mean by that is in 2018, I was honored to speak at the United Nations. And I listened for 2.5 hours to professionals and scientists and doctors speak from around the world about natural cures that have 100% success rate. And this, we lost Stacey.
We lost her.
Well, anyway, we'll finish. 100% success rate. And nobody would use the word cannabis. Nobody.
All for the sake of political correctness.
Except for me.
Enough for the mass,
man. That was the third word out of my mouth, I think.
Well, and that's prime example of how political correctness has been the mask for corruption for so long. How dare they keep the word cannabis down as if no one knows in the room what everybody is talking about? It's so stupid. Yes, it was cannabis that gave a 100% success rate against drug abuse, opioid addiction, exactly what she's talking about. And it's going to change everything if we just free it. It's going to change all of this. It's going to, is it going to heal the world? You're goddamn right it is.
Well, here's the thing too.
It's going to.
We're not afraid of people, getting hammered and driving and I mean, driving, we don't want them driving, but we're not afraid of people getting hammered. We're not afraid of
people have the right education about the plant. That's a moot point.
The only statement I'll make is this is the only medicine that you should be passing. You shouldn't be passing Xanax. You shouldn't be passing opiates. If you want to pass something healthy to someone, pass them some cannabis.
That's right.
That's what you should be passing.
That's right.
Oh, it should be the only acceptable form of shared medicine that there is.
Is she here? She's here.
Okay, good. Put her right back on.
This one?
Yeah.
Just how do you do it?
We'll go up here and we'll say add to stream, and then you add to stream.
There you are.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So I don't know how much
we lost her again.
Lost her again.
I think she's pushing buttons accidentally. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll get her back on. I'm just glad to hear. Listen, I'm glad to hear that more and more.
I'm here. Sorry, but my internet just died on me.
Or leaders, people that are looking for leadership, are saying, yeah, there's really no big deal. I mean, cannabis is cannabis is cannabis.
It can't, listen to me, Peter. I beg to differ here. Okay, someone in this political arena, as Stacey it needs to obligate themselves to know about this plant because it's that goddamn important to save us as we the people, as our society. This is, you know it. Right. Don't pussyfoot around.
Oh no, I'm not. Well, case in point with that, and where I can add to that was what Larry said. When we interviewed Larry the first time on 420 in 2018 or 19, what 19 was it? Yeah. And we sat down with him, and we're talking about the EC. I'm talking about the ECS. I'm talking about this. That, and
well, he took it upon himself to research what you were saying.
Right, my point is, he shook his head like this guy's freaking crazy. And then when he went home and researched it, he was like, "Holy shit!" And he researched it further. That's what we need other people.
But having platforms like this and being able to converse with politicians like Stacey and Larry and all those who are trying to make these changes in this world that are so necessary need to understand the importance. Come on, we can't just pussyfoot around the cannabis subject. It's been the billboard for the past decade: legalization, regulation, decriminalization. We have all been fighting this. Guess what? It's time to end prohibition because I'm going to say it again like I've been saying it from the beginning. Anything less is simply fucking genocide for us. We will not make it without that plant. period. We will not have solidarity. We will not have unity. We will not have any of it because we don't have critical thinking without it. The problem solving skills are gone without that plan. So I'm done with my my education on this, and I'm sure that Stacey got the gist of what I'm trying to do. It's just very important for her in her position and us in our position to make sure that we're educating. I mean, to tell Stacey that education is the most is what's important about cannabis, and not give her the education because of the position she holds is just ignorance. And we got to make sure that we do that.
And I'm always willing to educate. But Stacey, I think you're muted.
You're muted. You're muted.
Let me see if I can unmute her.
No,
unmute. Are you unmuted? Go ahead, Stacey. You should be able to talk now.
No, it's on her end. It's not on yours.
Wonder why she's not coming.
Unmute. Look at that. What's that?
That's mine.
Oh. God damn it.
Yeah. Technical difficulties, folks. So I'm going to unmute her right now. Let's see if it works. I think it should work now.
Oh, no.
No, we can't hear you. I don't know what's going on where I can't connect to her sound, unfortunately, folks. Let me see if I can continue to get this.
Oh, that's horrible.
Come on a second.
No. It's got to be on her end. Mic volume.
Calculation. Yeah. Should be all
it's
good.
It's got to be on her end.
I don't know why it's not working.
See if you have a mute button on your end, Stacey.
Or maybe I don't know if you're talking to a mic or.
No.
Nope. I don't know what's going on. She's unmuted because it's unmuted on my end. I'm looking at it in 3 different boxes.
Mm-hmm. So you can't hear. Maybe try and back out and go back.
Yeah. Try to back out, Stacey, and then come back. Like sign out of the StreamYard and then come back to it. Thank you.
I had to get that
all right. Well, I know. Hey, honey, listen. If everybody, you all know my wife. My wife has got passion for days, and especially when it comes to this. Why? Because she doesn't like people that die senselessly. She don't like to see people sick. She doesn't like it. It really, 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 really bothers her. It bothers her to the point where she loses it like that. And she's got to come on and say something. And believe me, she's always invited to sit next to me at any time she wants. Her opinion is as valuable, if not more valuable.
Education of this plan is key. I'm going to go out and drink some champagne with my friend.
Okay, my wife is now going to go out and drink some champagne with her friend. We got about 6 minutes left of the show. And what I can say is this: I'll always be a New Yorker. You'll always be a whatever you are. I love Arizona. I love my home. I'll never leave here. I have never found a more free spot in America. It offers me and I shouldn't say that. Let's change that verbiage. I've never found a place where I can live where where my freedoms that are documented are as prevalent than they are right here. I think that's the best way to put it, is that I live closer to the constitutional ways in the state of Arizona than I have in any other state that I've been in. And, for that, I call it home. Other than the reason that, I live off grid, I try to be as least government reliant as I possibly can be. I don't have an electric bill. I don't have a water bill. I don't have these bills. I do have a a dish bill and a satellite bill for my internet. But that's just so I could talk to you people, and I know you're so glad that I do that. Hold on, I think we're going to get Stacey back, and let's hope that we can hear her now. No, I can't. This is a bad joke, folks, that I cannot hear her. Honestly, I don't understand it. But the mic is unmuted. There you go. Unmute the mic. Unmute it. It's unmuted. Yeah. There's nothing I could do to fix it. Stacey, I'm sorry. I will let everybody go by viewing your face. Let's have a nice billboard of it up there. We've got her name up there, folks. If please look up Stacey if you haven't yet. Follow her on Twitter. Follow her on Facebook. Follow her in in the mime classes that she's giving right now to us as we're sitting here. You're doing great. Listen, I'll bet you there's 50,000 people watching right now that can actually read her lips. And I think that that's great too, because we try to be all inclusive. And at this point in time, we're trying to give everybody an experience. Now, please visit her sites, follow her on Facebook, follow her on Twitter. Are you on Instagram? Hey, Stacey, watch this. Let's do this. Where is this? I'm asking her in a chat, and I'll give you whatever she types me back here. I just want to know if she's performing out anywhere, because if she is, I'd love you guys to support that as well as as well as her candidacy. And my wife would run to see her because my wife loves comedy. That was our first year anniversary. We went to a comedy club in Florida. It was probably one of the best dates we ever had in our entire life. And she will have dates. That's
Tim
good.
Wilkins.
That's
Tim Wilkins. So we saw.
Mm-hmm. And we saw Tim Wilkins when we were down south. And we had the pleasure of going to the city, to Anthony Pellegrino's brother Frank's place there in Stand Up New York, and saw the comedy show when Larry was there. But I want to thank Stacey for her time. Thank you. We'll do this again. Can we do this again sometime? Okay, awesome. We'll do this again, and hopefully we don't have any. We did pretty good. We got up to like 58 minutes before everything went to shit. But yeah, that's it. Hey, if it would have went perfect, it would have been a Republican or a Democrat show. Welcome to the world of libertarianism, folks. This is how we do it. As was once greatly said in a song, I believe. But Stacey, we'll talk to you later. Good luck to you. And again, we'll have you back soon. Folks, thank you for joining my show tonight. I got to get off here in about 1 minute. I want to thank FSM Media, Free Speech Media, for having me on Trovo. Roger Sanchez, Harrison Kemp. Who else is Emmanuel Torres. There's lots of guys on there. DL Cummings. If you guys haven't joined the Facebook page, please go look at it, man. There's a lot of great things streaming. There's a lot of brilliant young guys coming up. Guys, listen, I'm just some old dude with a lot of opinion. I'm just an old dude with a lot of opinion. Has a lot of answers too, if people would just give him the chance to speak to him or would listen to him. And if you need any help out there, and thank you, Daniel Donnelly. I'm going to put that up right now. I'll put that up in the comments. Folks, please visit www.prussmanformayor.com. Please go there, donate, whether it's time, energy, money, whatever you can do. Let's get someone into office that is going to really make a difference. What I will say to people is this, and I hope that ending the show with this will help you and then in turn help us all. We have been frightened and scared and rolled into the fetal position over this past year, all for nothing, all to get one person into office, or one administration into office, and another one out, and that's all this was about. The proof is in the pudding. Numbers don't drastically go down when someone else is sworn in. We had this thing beat. The numbers have been wrong anyway. Let's forget about that. For a second. change is uncomfortable, but good change is good change. Like, you know, you don't make change to end up in a worse place, right? But you always have to take a chance. And you're taking a chance on betterment. You're taking a chance on doing something to help everyone. And that's looking somewhere else. That's really understanding who you're voting for. That's not listening to what they say they're going to do. That's looking at what they've done before so that you know that they will bring that forward. We have to learn to look to example rather than to promise. Because once that position is obtained and the ring of power is on, we can do as we wish. That's the thinking. That's the thinking. We need to change that. And believe me, Ellen,
Sorry.
the Libertarian Party is that change? Is that positive? Is that answer? Are those free thinkers? Are your neighbor, the guy that you remember looking at the news and you're both going nuts because you can't believe the crap you're seeing? They're us. That's Americans. There are people that understand that the size of a government doesn't mean a thing. If it's too large, it needs to be chopped. Why? Because it's not needed. It is a drain. We cannot have an entity rule over as one. We can't. We can't. Because I live differently than you do, so I need a different set of rules than you need. It's that simple. Localization of government, cutting down the size of government, bringing government back to the community, letting the people that live in areas make decisions on how they want to live. There's nothing, what is so wrong with that? You know, that's what we try to embrace, right? When we buy a home, we look for a certain area with all of these values and things that we want, and we outweigh things and we move there. But we can't live in that if there's an almighty ruling over everything. Folks, let's take the time to study before we take the test. Don't just circle, don't fill in boxes. This isn't a bubblegram. This is your life. This is my life. This is everybody's, your mother's life, your brother, your sister, your father, your grandmother, whoever it is you love. It's their life. And the only people that can make that change happen are us. We, the people, can't expect the government to do what's in our best interest. They have proven that wrong every minute of my 56 years. So let's make the change we wish to see in the world, and let's live it. And let's lose ourselves through the service of others so that we can finally really know who the heck we are. Let's do these things and make America finally great. Finally. Till next week, I'm your host, Pete Yapel. Thank you for watching The Voluntary Option. Thank you to Stacey Prussman. Again, thank you to David Fike and to Daniel Donnelly for getting that connection for me so we could have her on the show. Next time we have her on, we'll try to make sure we don't have any audio issues. Till next time, I'm Pete Yapel again, Voluntary Option. Peace, everybody, and live the freedom you wish to live.